Oh, hey, didn't see you there. My name is Lena Deshpande of Channel PW, and I am here today to report on the standings of pioneer women. In the expansion, every American was driven by the same force to spread farther west, even though they would face the hardships throughout the journey, which Ying and Taryn will talk about shortly. To elaborate, westward expansion was sparked by the idea of manifest destiny. This norm pushed Americans farther west into unexplored land in pursuit of a better life, gold, and spiritual beliefs. News of what Lewis and Clark had found inspired many more pioneers to follow. We will now go to our reporter in the field and let her talk.
Howdy, fellows. I'm Ying Thun, reporting from the field, or the site of the trail. I'm going to tell you why it was so tempting to travel west to Oregon. Some called it the Western Fever, a calling for refuge in Oregon. Oregon boasted a mild climate, plenty of rich farmland, and hunting grounds. As said in the article, according to one tall tale, fully cooked wild pigs stuck with forks roamed the Oregon countryside, just waiting for hungry travelers to grab them. Among the many women that managed the trail, Martha Gay Masterson left her own account of the experience. We had lived in Springfield 3 years and were very happy and prosperous, and the future looked bright. Her father got the Western Fever. He talked about Oregon in the Columbia River and wanted to go there.
Oi! The journey was extremely difficult, even in the excitement of exploring new lands. Many died on the trail, marking about 10 graves per mile. Fear of Indians or Native Americans was a common concern that sparked worry in many families on the trail. According to one girl on the trail, Martha Gay Matterson always covered her baby sister for fear the savages would steal her. However, all of this unease was in vain, as women on the trail recalled that nearly all the encounters with Indians were friendly. Their families also faced hardships of clearing difficult passages like mountain ranges and river rapids with unpredictable weather. In one description, there is no ferry here, the river, and the men will have to make out one of the tightest wagon beds. Everything must now be hauled out of the wagons head over heels. Then the wagons must all be taken to pieces and then by means of a strong rope stretched across the river with a tight wagon bed attached to the middle of it. The rope must be long enough to pull from one side to the other, with men on each side of the river to pull it. In this way, we have to cross everything a little at a time. Women and children last, and then swim the cattle and horses. There were 3 horses and some cattle drowned while crossing the place yesterday. It is quite lively and merry here this morning, and the weather is fine. We are camped on a large bottom with the broad, deep river on one side of us and a high bluff on the other. Oh yeah, and I'm Taryn Huggins from Channel PW, and now we go to Alina for more information.
For white Americans in the East and Midwest, the West was beginning to seem like a wonderland. Believing in manifest destiny, the ultimate goal was to spread all across the country. The Oregon Territory seemed more riveting to Americans than any other region. People were especially fascinated by the tales of the far west beyond the Rockies. Inspired by Oregon fever between 1840 and 1860, about 250,000 people followed the Oregon Trail west. Traveling to Oregon from Missouri took about 6 months. In a text, it says, most travelers, known as overlanders, made their way on foot, covering about 15 miles per day. Only the very young and the very old rode in wagons that carried their supplies. Several families traveled together in trains of 20 or more wagons. Before leaving, many travelers bought everything that they needed in their hometown on the eastern end of the trail. During their journey, their parents were preoccupied with keeping their wagon train moving. The children were often left to look after themselves, sometimes with near fatal results.
In spite of all this, the pioneer women still left their mark on the trail, which is still commonly respected today. Their legacy was proven to bring great impressions, proper education, and diversity in their skills, which they would also bring to the new settlement in Oregon. The women were able to forge friendships with the Indians and show side of the Native Americans to other regions that they didn't know about. They were able to teach the women sewing and the little children how to read and write in English. Their legacy was also continuing to spread all across the Oregon Territory, as wherever they settled, schools, churches, libraries, literary societies, and charitable groups began to form.
Did you know women were taught to do household tasks such as gardening, cooking, weaving, sewing, and making soap and candles, while men would work more of the heavy duty and okay. Did you know women were taught to do household chores such as cooking, gardening, weaving, sewing, and making soap and candles, while men were taught to do more of the heavy duty or strenuous tasks such as cutting wood, building fences, and clearing brushes?
Thank you for watching Channel PW. Just to remind you,
I'm Elena.
I'm Yang.
And I'm Taryn.
Tune in for next week for more.